really invented the book.
Well, why don't you tell the story about the first time you saw Ame's art?
Yeah.
And decided to reach out to him because it's a brilliant story. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Well, I had been going to the Strand and to Fantastic Planet.
Forbidden Planet. Yeah.
Sorry, I always Forbidden Planet. Sorry, Forbidden Planet.
You mistook it for the classic French animated film Fantastic Planet as opposed to the Leslie Nielsen vehicle 1970. It's fine.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I was going in there and spending all my days because we were trying to find the perfect person for this story, and we knew it had to be someone very special. And then one day I walked into the Strand, and then just across the room, highlighted in their graphic novel section, was a little hardcover of Muhammad Ali, and I just ran to it and I grabbed it and I was like, this is my guy. And I bought it and came running out of the Strand. And I said, have you ever heard of a guy named called Patrick? Yes. And said, have you ever heard of an illustrator named Ameziane? I'm holding this book right here. And he's like, no, I haven't heard of him. I don't.
Yeah. And
I go an American.
I go online and the first thing I see is Ameziane's book Clan, which is his modern retelling of Zatoichi. And I looked through a couple of pages and I'm like, holy. And to be honest, we really thought that Ame would never get back to us.
I didn't think so. I didn't think so at all.
This guy's going to think
who are these wannabes in New York City who are like,
next thing they're going to ask me for my bank account number.
Who are these posers?
Listen, we've got all this money and we just need you to transfer it to your account.
Well, so then I of course Googled him around and found his amazing website, and read his bio and wrote on the contact, and I didn't expect to hear a thing, and heard back the next day. He was interested. He would read the script over the weekend. I was like, over the weekend, okay, I've heard this before. I'll send him the script, but now I won't hear from him for 3 or 4, 5, 6 months.
Yeah.
I'll have to get back to him and be like, hey man, did you ever read that script? What were you thinking? Blah, blah, blah. He wrote me back the next day with our iconic logo,
which you can, which is this is podcast, but if you go to the landing page and you take a look at the classic photo.
He said you were right to contact me. I'm your guy, and we never looked back really from there. We had to, of course, do contracts and all that crap. But it really, we just never looked back from that day. We were really already collaborating. We were already collaborating. So and so, and then once you guys started working together, we put together a pitch package and started shopping it around. And we had help from a lot of wonderful people, specifically Mike Gold and Glenn Howman were championing it. Joe Corallo introduced got us introduced to Glenn and Mike, who I knew tangentially. I've known Glenn for years also. And then we were lucky enough that our friends Casey Lansdale and our friends Christopher Golden both separately sent it to Ross Ritchie at Boom
at Boom Studios, and they were like, "Well, what's going on here? We're getting this thing from these two different people," and they took a look at it and they saw Ame's art, and and they jumped right in, with both feet. They didn't wait in; they jumped in, and it was incredible. The collaboration began with them almost immediately. So now, Ame.
Yes.
All right. So now, as a fan of comic books, of that era, the Bronze Age, as it's called, This book is so evocative of so many different brilliant artists from that era. And it's so, not only is it evocative of Black history, not only is it evocative of the history of the prison abolition movement, it is evocative of the civil rights movement, but it is evocative of the comic book greats of that era of the early 70s. And can you tell us about, your influences and what helped you, visualize this book and make it look like not only cinematic in a way that it looks like films of the era, looks like The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, and looks like The French Connection, but also so evocative of really great comic books of that time.
It's simple because I love the 70s so much. Movies of the 70s, the area, the music. When I received the proposition to do a book from Jared, already I was on board. I was very afraid of drawing a prison because it's so much people and things like that. But I wanted to do because I saw the potential of the stories to do something I like. And what I like is I emerge in the period of the book, generally a storybook, and I like to revisit graphic element, artists of the period and make reference to the people I like. And I discovered comics in 1976 or 5.
Right around the same age I did, and I'm sure not far off.
It was around the Amazing Spider-Man 1905 in France. And I love it. So it's a period I like. It's a Gilken period. It's of Spider-Man and Ross Andrew and
love John Romita Sr. of course.
I love this period so much. So I believe for the stories, I have to be the more realistic possible, making reference to Emory Douglas, the artist who made the graphics of the Black Panthers people. But I needed to reach the eye to the comics fan because I will be published in the US, in America. If they don't like or they don't presume they like historic book, I like to catch them by having graphics made from comics from the 70s. So people can flip the book and say, oh, look, something like that. It's the 70s. Okay. Oh, look, the paper got this little texture. Oh, it's like my old comics. And then layer by layer, I can grab some people that maybe won't be interested, but now they're curious because they see something they know. And me, as an artist, I can play with all that. It's a tremendous pleasure to do a mock-up chapter, like the title of the Spider-Man I like so much, but make it political, make it serious, make it real dead because real people die. I have to respect that, and I have paid my tribute to that. But I also have to make it artistic, and for that I have to help people with references, artistic references.
Well, and when I saw even Ame's first drawings, I can say that I knew that something special was happening and that we were going to make something, like your idea of even just getting it done just for the importance of getting Frank's story out there as a graphic novel. But once I began to see these drawings, I began to realize that he began to tap into the story in such an artistic and creative way that made it even accessible. I don't want to say enjoyable completely. That's not quite the right experience.
Yeah, that's my job.
But remarkably, like a Kubrick film, taking the horribly ugly subjects and somehow showing the beauty of them, or the beauty in the cinematography, so the beauty in the illustration.
Yeah, well, because
that allows you to then go on these journeys that otherwise would just be incredibly unpleasant.
It's incredible also how Ame juxtaposes hyper-realistic, photorealistic, cinema evocative style with also, I hate the term, but cartoon-like storytelling elements.
No, it's because
there's
a good
comic book.
Well, there's moments when they're taking the prison where it transitions. There's a moment where one of the prisoners gets shot through the hand, and it's an incredibly powerful realism.
That's a true story of Akil Al-Jundi.
Yeah, and then
Akil Al-Jundi.
And then the scene transposes and becomes not just cartoon-like, but propaganda poster-like. It's really an incredible way of using different styles in a medium to tell a story. The way you exploited it.
That's graphic novel. That's a graphic novel way, because when you do I said, a normal story, if you do a Daredevil story, by example, except the one Sienkiewicz made, you have to keep it in the style, because if you change things so much, you get out of the stories, you starting to look too much at the drawing, and you lose the stories. But in the graphic novel, we have to play. We have to have the graphic part, the painting part, if the story is serious. I knew with as soon as I read the script from Jared, I knew even with stick figure, I can have a good stories, because the stories was so good for me. It was so tight. Usually I try to say, what can I cut? What can I don't want to draw a book too big, so what can I cut? And I was with my pen and said, nothing is cuttable. All is good. All is tight. The words are calculated. The short scene with few dialogue, you can cut that because it's important. And it was so good. I said, okay, now I have to concentrate on the art, on the drawing, and make it as good, because the writing, I was amazed. For me, I tell him right away, I said, it's good as Year One for me, because Year One is a book I came back to always, and it's so tight. Every frame, every line is well placed.
You're talking about Batman
Year One.
Batman Year One by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli.
And Frank Miller. And I learned writing and composing stories by analyzing this one. And when I saw something so tight, I was jealous first, because I write story too. They said, "Oh, that's good, man. You better than me." Frankly, I want to work with you right away. and secondly, I said, "Okay, I have to concentrate on the art and make it as good." So I like Bill Sienkiewicz. The frame of mind of Bill Sienkiewicz is, you do what you want. You have in graphic novels, you writing ideas. It's not the plot, it's not the suspense. You have ideas to illustrate in any way possible. And if you have many styles you can mix, if they're the good style for the good sequence, it works. Nowadays, people are educated. They aren't afraid of many changes. And that's what they like. So I hope. And I do that with great pleasure. I'm never bored when I work because I can switch style as many as I like if it serves the stories. So you have to craft these things and have tremendous pleasure, and the public, the audience, the reader like it too, because they don't know what they will get when they turn the pages. And that's what readers like. That's what I like. Absolutely not knowing, not guessing